All right, so I've got a brand new first impressions video for you all today, and I would say it's going to be on two really highly anticipated, inspirations from French Avenue. One being Veneno from French Avenue, and then the other being Vulcan Feu from French Avenue. I believe that's how you pronounce both of these. So the Vulcan Feu, this is, obviously if you can tell, it's going to be a interpretation of God of Fire from Stefan Humbert Lucas, however you pronounce that particular house. And then the Veneno, this is going to be French Avenue's take on By Killing and Smoking Hot. So really nice presentation, man, on both of these fragrances. With the Veneno, you get like this really large box here. You've got the sort of gold snake that's at the top of the box, naming the fragrance Veneno, French Avenue. This is a 100 ml bottle as well. This box is like this really nice kind of like snakeskin textured box, all black with like gold accents. And on the back, you've got like an authenticity sticker here, French Avenue ingredients, the barcode. And one thing that I haven't seen anywhere on this box or on the bottle or anything like that is a production date. So I don't know, what batch or when this one was actually made. But as you can see here, you open up the box and the bottle just kind of sits in there like that. So bottle has like two gold snakes on it on the front, kind of facing each other. On the back, you've got like a snake kind of going up the back or going up towards the top of the bottle with French Avenue written on the back as well. And then on each side of the bottle, you have Veneno written there. French Avenue is also written on the cap, and then you got like a French Avenue sticker down here at the bottom. All right. So the sprayer on really both of these fragrances are like extremely average. That I can definitely say for sure. They're not like premium pressurized sprayers or anything like that, but to me anyway, they get the job done. Now for Vulcan Feu, this basically is a sleeve. So you have this kind of snake here that kind of goes around most of the box, Vulcan Feu. And then on the actual box that the bottle was in, there's nothing on the top or the bottom. You've got a sort of Fragrance World QR code over here, authenticity sticker, French Avenue and the ingredients, barcode. This is a 100 ml bottle as well. And then production date on this one is March of this year. As for the box, you've kind of got like the same thing that's going on the Veneno box. You've got like this sort of snake skin sort of texture around the whole box. French Avenue on the front, nothing on the sides, nothing on the top or the bottom. Then on the back, you've got this QR code, and then manufactured by Fragrance World Perfumes. Bottle sits in there like that. And really nice looking bottle, man, on both of these. All right. Now, as for the note comparisons, and I'm going to start off with Veneno versus Smoking Hot. So for the note breakdown of Smoking Hot, Smoking Hot is going to give you top notes of apple, cinnamon, and smoke. In the mid, you get tobacco, vanilla, and moss. And then in the base, you get bourbon, vanilla, licorice, orchinox, iso-e super, and clary sage. Now, the note breakdown for Veneno is going to be extremely similar. So you're going to get apple, cinnamon, and smoke again in the top notes. In the mid, you get moss and tobacco. And then in the base, you get bourbon, vanilla, and orchinox. So this, I would say for sure, Veneno smells closer to the original Smoking Hot than what Mashrabiyah does. So Mashrabiyah is definitely going to be a little bit more of like a twist on that scent profile for sure. Whereas Veneno to me is more of sort of like I'm not gonna say like a one-to-one inspiration or anything like that, because it's not a one-to-one, but it is definitely like Veneno to me is like over 90% close to Smoking Hot, whereas Mashrabia is more kind of like around that 80 to 85%, close mark. So, still both are really, really good interpretations. It's just, obviously the fragrance world or the French Avenue version is going to be, the best in terms of, accuracy for sure. Also, I will say that the Veneno, to me so far, does smell higher quality than what the Lattafa Mashrabia does. Just in terms of like the overall blend quality, as well as, like the ingredients, it does seem to smell a little bit better, just overall than what the Lattafa does. But the Lattafa is still like a really good interpretation of the scent profile for sure. Now, the first thing that I noticed, both on skin as well as, on tester strips, when, spraying, the Bikilian, versus the Veneno, the two fragrances definitely smell very similar for sure. I can say that. But what I will say is the Veneno, to me, it has a couple of notes that it kind of amplifies a little bit more, at least on my skin anyway. And then the Bikilian has, a note or two that it emphasizes a little bit more. So to me, the Bikilian Smoking Hot, it has a little bit heavier emphasis on that licorice note, which, the Lattafa Mashrabia really doesn't have at all. That is one of the first things that I kind of picked up on when smelling the two fragrances side by side was this, while it does have a licorice note in it, which I feel like, again, the Lattafa Mashrabia really doesn't have much of at all. This does have a little bit of it in it, but it's very much kind of toned down compared to the Bikilian. Now, as far as the things that I feel like are a little bit more kind of prominent in the French Avenue Veneno, I would say the cinnamon is a little bit more prominent in this off my skin in the Veneno. The cinnamon is the tobacco, I would say, is a little bit more kind of prominent, as well as the smoke as well. So this is not going to be as smoky as what Mashrabia is, but it does come off a little bit more smokier than what the original does. So I feel like this one is kind of like, it's right there in like that sweet spot of being, a little bit more smokier than the original fragrance, but, not super smoky and, like apple shisha heavy as what like something like the Mashrabia is. And while I still love that about this fragrance, to me, this just comes off as a little bit more, like I said, apple shisha and tobacco heavy, as opposed to this one, the Veneno. It seems to have like a little bit better sort of, or more balanced sort of blend to it. So again, it comes off as smelling a lot more like the original fragrance. So the original fragrance definitely has like a little bit more of like a boozy sort of feel to it. It does have a sort of spicy cinnamon smell as well. Obviously, you kind of get like that apple, sort of smell from it as well, the smoke. And then later on in the fragrance, you get like a nice dose of vanilla. So all of those things are here in this fragrance, but it's just going to be, in my opinion, blended a little bit better than what it is in the Lattafa. Now, I still really, really love the way that this one smells, as far as it being a little bit more of like a photorealistic kind of like, like somebody blew hookah smoke in your face type of smell. Like that's the kind of vibe that I get from this fragrance. But I feel like with the Veneno, This one does smell a little bit more kind of like upscale, in my opinion. And I feel like the reason why I feel like that is this, to me, like I said, it does have a slightly heavier emphasis on some of the notes that Smoking Hot does, as opposed to what, you know, Mashrabia does. All right. So this to me is going to be for somebody who really likes the sort of boozy, smoky, and spicy elements of Smoking Hot, and not so much like on the licorice, because I definitely am getting a little bit more licorice from the Smoking Hot for sure. So if you want that exact same kind of scent profile, but you want it with slightly less, you know, licorice, I think, you know, this is going to be, you know, what you're looking for. And, you know, again, the notes that this one really excels at. So again, you know, the cinnamon, the smoke, the tobacco, to me, they come across as being a little bit more sort of emphasized. And I would also even say that the apple in this, the apple comes off is, I mean, just ever so slightly a bit sweeter, like almost like they used the apple that was like a few more days riper than what the original did. So that's another thing that I do like about the Veneno as well, is it's not like super noticeably sweeter, but it is just a touch sweeter, especially when you smell the two side by side, man. So this is, I would say, probably going to be the best interpretation of Smoking Hot that you can find. I don't remember how much I paid for each one of these, but I believe for each one, it was like around that $40 to $50 mark for 100 ml. Whereas, you know, the Smoking Hot, I don't know exactly how much that fragrance costs, but I'm sure it's probably, you know, between $200 and $300. And I don't even know if that's for like a full 100 ml bottle. So, you know, this is, again, over 90% close for sure. You know, I'll have a full sort of closeness rating in the final review of this. But, you know, so far from what I'm smelling and, you know, the experience that I'm getting from this, this really seems to be, you know, a really, really good interpretation. As for the performance, that'll also be for the final review. But what I will say, at least in the first impressions video here, is the performance on this is definitely worth purchasing for sure. I would say that. This does perform so far on my skin anyway, very good. All right. So this was definitely my favorite fragrance out of, you know, these two. Because I did purchase this, I believe, with this one as well. And then I have the Veneno Bianco or Veneno Latte, whatever the other one is. It's like a white bottle with gold snakes. I have that one coming, as well as the Vulcan Sable as well. So definitely stay tuned for those videos as well. But yeah, man, this one was definitely my favorite out of these two. Now on to Vulcan Feu. Comparing this one to God of Fire. As far as the note breakdown goes, I could not find like a note breakdown from like a reputable source. You know, so like I couldn't find any notes for this on like Fragrantica or Parfumo.com or anything like that. So I don't have any notes for this one, but as far as the note breakdown goes for God of Fire, the top notes are going to be mango, ginger, lemon, and red berries. And then in the mid, you get coumarin, jasmine, and cedar. In the base, you get musk, oud, amber, and cypriol oil. Now, for God of Fire, it's a fragrance that I've smelled quite a while ago. Actually, I got a sample of Alexandria's version, Fire of God. And I just wanted to kind of, you know, see how it compared to the God of Fire. And Fire of God is, I would say, a really, really good interpretation of, you know, God of Fire. Now, as far as where Vulcan Feu, you know, kind of sits in that mix, To me, Vulcan Feu it doesn't smell better than what Fire of God from Alexandria does, in terms of closeness, in terms of quality and stuff like that. But I think where Vulcan Feu kind of, has its place is this is going to give you a lot more value, as far as like per spray or per ml, whatnot, than what something like Fire of God will. So this is 100 ml. Like I said, I only paid like $40 to $50 or so for this bottle from Fragrance Spy. And the same thing from, Alexandria, Fire of God, this is going to cost you, even with like a 15% discount, like after shipping and everything, it's probably going to run you like around like $105 to $110 or so out the door with, shipping and taxes. So like almost 3 times more than, what the Vulcan Feu costs. Does the Alexandria, to me, smell 3 times better than Vulcan Feu does? Absolutely not. I could not say that at all. It does definitely have, I would say it's about probably 95% close or so, to, the original. Whereas the Vulcan Feu, I could easily say that this is not so far 90% close. It's definitely going to be lower. And the main thing that I noticed with this fragrance is when you first spray Vulcan Feu on and you smell it side by side with God of Fire to me, you're not really able to like pick out like individual notes. So like everything is just kind of, extremely well blended. And it's almost kind of like a 3-dimensional type of smell that, you get with the God of Fire. With Vulcan Feu, this to me, it comes off slightly brighter. All right, so slightly brighter and slightly more citrusier. And to me, the citrus that I feel like that I smell anyway is that lemon. So the lemon definitely seems to be more prominent in Vulcan Feu than what it is in God of Fire. And I feel like it kind of makes the fragrance smell like slightly more cheaper than what, God of Fire does. So, God of Fire, like I said, obviously you're getting, that really, really smooth mango. You're getting the ginger. I don't necessarily get like, I guess, a red berries type of smell from God of Fire. It's mainly just kind of like the mango, ginger, and the lemon in this fragrance. And then, kind of like a musky sort of backbone to the fragrance. But this one for sure, to me, the lemon sticks out in the Vulcan Feu. And like I said, it does make the fragrance smell a little bit more kind of lower quality than, both what the God of Fire does as well as the Fire of God from Alexandria. So that I feel like is not the hugest deal in my opinion. Again, this is a sub $50 fragrance, for 100 ml. Whereas the Alexandria, you're paying over $100 for, the same bottle size. And it's not like this fragrance has like terrible performance either. So, this one, as far as what I can tell, the performance on this is still very good. I would say right now, each time that I've worn it, I've gotten easily 8 hours, with wearing this fragrance. And that's both in like 70-degree weather, because kind of right now we're like on the cusp of like getting out of like the cooler weather here in Las Vegas and basically going into what most people would consider like summer weather for the most part. So like today has been pretty cool, like, in the 50s or so. But a few days ago, it was like around 70 to 80 or so. And that's mainly when I was wearing this fragrance, was during those days. And it did perform pretty decently during that time. Now, again, this one is the Vulcan Feu. It's a slightly brighter, slightly more, citrus heavy, and slightly lower quality version of the original God of Fire. All right. Um, I wouldn't say that this one is over 90% close to the original. It's going to be slightly less than that. But, I think for under $50, this is going to give you that same type of vibe that you get from God of Fire. So, that really kind of like tropical, fruity, like, and I mean, the other thing that I really like about this is the ginger note in this. The ginger to me in the Vulcan Feu seems to be a little bit more amplified. So this has like a slightly kind of fizzier feel to it as well, especially in the opening. That I really do like about this. I wish that they would have maybe blended the lemon in with the other sort of fruits that you get up top a little bit better. But that's basically what this is. I mean, this is like a tropical sort of, in my opinion, kind of sparkly type of drink, that you would kind of drink at the beach. And then as the fragrance starts to, kind of dry down, you start to notice a little bit more of sort of like that muskiness. The oud starts to come out a little bit more as well. And like a ambery sort of feel is what you get. So it warms up a lot, I would say, as the fragrance starts to dry down, while still kind of maintaining that, really kind of fun, fruity, sort of playful type of feel that you get, in the initial opening. So, you get that with Vulcan Feu. You get that with the Fire of God from Alexandria. And obviously you get that with the original God of Fire. But if I'm going to rank which one of these are, I guess the best smelling, this one would be at the bottom. The Alexandria's version to me would be, above this. And then obviously you would have the God of Fire. But again, this is still going to be a fragrance that I would absolutely recommend to anybody who's not looking to spend over $100 for, this particular scent profile. All right. So that is, I would say, my initial thoughts on both Vulcan Feu as well as Veneno from French Avenue. Really, really two solid interpretations, man. Would definitely recommend both of these. Definitely stay tuned for the full reviews, where I'll be giving like my closeness rating on these, my overall rating, and then, really kind of going in depth about the performance on both of these. All right. So I'll have links in the description to where you can actually purchase both of these fragrances. And also, man, let me know in the comments what you all think about my assessment so far, or my first impressions of these fragrances so far. Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see you on the next video.